back. We're super excited to be back with you and continue our time of talking about prayer. This has been a sweet journey because not only have we been taking you on a journey of prayer, we've actually been taking three of us on a journey of prayer, especially diving into our catechism. So if you ever want to know more about what we're talking about, the catechism actually goes through all 5 of these prayers that we're going through. So that means you're going to have one more after this video. So this week we're talking about the prayer of petition. You're probably, petition? Isn't that the thing that we do after the homily that I tune out? Well, what's exciting is after this video, if you have been tuning it out, you'll know what it is and you'll know how to enter more fully into it.
So good. So the first step of petition is actually asking for forgiveness. Because it's saying that, God, you are the creator and I'm just your creation. And just like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Sandlot. It's a classic movie. So this kid takes his dad's signed baseball by Babe Ruth and he hits it over the fence, okay? And then he spends a whole movie just trying to get this baseball, gets into a load of trouble, where he could have just asked for forgiveness, right? And then he would have gotten the baseball back 2 hours earlier if you're watching the movie. It's actually over it's like over a whole summer. But you get the picture. It's so good to clear the air before we ask for something. And so the same goes for our prayer. That's why we start Mass, and one of the first things we do is we pray the act of contrition. We're asking for forgiveness before we ask God for anything else.
Yeah, and my favorite part is that the petitions in the prayers of the faithful at Mass are structured in a way that teaches us how to ask for things from God. Yeah. Because the petitions always start with something like, we pray for Pope Francis and his intentions. And the reason we start with that before we get into more specific things is because we always want to keep in mind the hope that we have because of God's promise that his kingdom is going to come. So when we see these things going on around us that tempt us to lose hope because they're not part of God's kingdom or part of his plan, actually we're supposed to focus on what God has promised and be built in faith that he's going to bring that to reality. So then we can move into more specific things like praying for peace in the world, praying for different situations in our parish or in our own lives later.
Yeah, and so with that, we want to actually invite not only you, but invite your class into praying specifically into the petitions at Mass and praying for those things that look like they're hopeless and seeing hope in them. So before you go to your class Mass this week, we invite you to take time with your class to think of one special petition that you as a class are going to get behind when those petitions come up at Mass. And also during the Eucharistic prayer, you can bring that petition back to the forward of your mind and ask God for that moment, because God is listening very intently during the Eucharistic prayer of the Mass. So we're excited to see how that goes, and we'll see you next week.